All right, as the country continues to reel from mass shootings like the ones in Parkland, Florida, businesses are becoming a larger part of the debate on gun control. Earlier this week, Walmart and Dick's Sporting Goods, Dick's, the largest sporting goods company in the country, banned the sale of assault-style rifles and raised the minimum age to buy a gun to 21 in their stores. And just this morning, LL Bean announced it is also raising its minimum age to buy a gun to 21. Now, we're diving deeper into how these attacks are affecting corporations with Dr. Richard Chasdy, a professor from Walsh College. Thank you so much, Dr. Chasdy, for joining us this morning. So, do these corporate decisions really impact the debate?
Well, insofar as efforts in Congress, I think that they do, and insofar as that these corporations and companies are responding to changing tastes and preferences and demands on the part of consumers, I think they do matter a great deal. And one of the things about this new book that I have written is
Corporate Security Crossroads.
Corporate Security Crossroads, responding to terrorism, cyber threats, and other hazards in the global business environment, is what multinational corporations, to sort of bring it onto a broader stage, can do in terms of using soft line counterterrorism measures to promote their own security around the world.
Because whether or not what one's beliefs are with gun control, once we know that the people who have these guns, whether it's the Parkland, Florida shooter or the guy in Vegas, their goal is to terrorize. So this is terrorism.
Yes,
in that regard.
It's criminal terrorism. It's not political terrorism insofar as Cruz was not. There's no pickup.
Right. He had no political agenda.
Political agenda, but it certainly amounts to criminal terrorism and mass murder.
Now, how do companies look at how these types of actions, for instance, if you're Walmart, you have to think at some point, well, gee, if I sell this, does it hurt my brand? Are they looking at this from a altruistic point of view? Let me do this for the good of the public, or gee, how does this impact us in our bottom line?
Well, I think there's probably an element of both, and I think there's also the question of a litigious component to this. You know, at what point will there be at least allegations that these companies are somehow complicit in the supplying of weapons to mentally unstable people, as Nicholas Cruz seems very well to be, to carry out these kinds of events.
Now, your book talks about all sorts of terrorism. Are there any takeaways, for a final question, is there any takeaway here that you can give the people at home about what these types of decisions mean for corporations?
Well, I think what's happening is that as more traditional terrorism targets are being hardened, that there's almost a logic in terms of opportunity recognition to go after softer targets, which would be corporations. They also have the revenue in terms of kidnappings and other resources that terrorist groups would covet. And so that's something to think about.
Dr. Richard Chasdy of Walsh College, thank you so much for joining us and enlightening us.
It's a pleasure.
This morning.
Thank you for having me.